All right, so this is going to be a bit different from the exercise info that I've been putting out. I've got a lot of questions on what I do for my diet, and this is a very important piece of the puzzle because honestly, if you don't have your diet dialed in, you could train as hard as you want in the gym, but you're not going to be able to see the progress. So in order to really see the results that you want to get, you got to drop the fat. And the key is to do that without dropping muscle and without losing strength. And that's exactly what I've basically mastered after 30 plus years of training. I'm turning 52 next month, and I've been training 35 years, and it's taken a lot of reading, experimentation, trial and error to figure it out. So what I do is what I call the Starting Monday diet, and I'm going to give you a full rundown on it here. If you want to learn more or even grab a copy of this diet program, just go to startingmondaydiet.com. I'll have links to that in the description. I'll post it below here. So if you want to kind of get a more in-depth look at what I'm doing, that's exactly what I'm doing, but I'm going to give you a rundown here right now. So basically, the key with losing fat is you need to get a caloric deficit. There's no getting around that. There's no eat whatever you want, whenever you want. That's garbage. The key is getting the caloric deficit and being able to do it consistently over a long period of time. This consistently, it's kind of like compound interest. That's where the magic really happens, is where you can keep that consistent caloric deficit for months on end. It's basically going to transform your body in a matter of months. So that's exactly what I've accomplished. Back in April, I was about 206 pounds. Right now, I'm about 175. So I've dropped about 30 pounds of basically all fat in the meantime. And, I've done body composition, so I know this is a fact, and I've actually maintained all of my strength as I've been doing it. So that's a pretty good indicator that this is what's happened. Now, what this program is kind of based around a weekday schedule. So what happens when you're basically trying to go on a diet? You do great. You start on Monday. That's what we psychologically have imprinted in our minds as a society. Everything starts on Monday. That's when the work week starts, et cetera, et cetera. So I figured, why not kind of go with that? So during the first part of the week, that's when people tend to be more strict. You can really keep an eye on your food intake. You know exactly what you should eat and shouldn't eat, and you're able to really keep on the program. So Monday and Tuesday, low carb eating. Again, caloric deficit, but low carb eating. Wednesday, what I do is from Tuesday evening through Wednesday evening, it's fasting. So literally nothing like a water fast is what we're looking at here, intermittent fasting. So for that approximate 24-hour period, it ends up being probably about 20 hours. But during that period of time, literally just water. And I've got a few tweaks that I've got in the book here that you can also read about. On that Wednesday, here's where it gets interesting. And what you're going to do here is only carbs. So now this is not based by full research. This is kind of based on anecdotal evidence, some stuff I've read and stuff I've experienced for myself. It's kind of like if you're familiar with the sugar diet kind of concept where you're eating basically just carbs. This is somewhat similar, not exactly along that same line, but that's a popular way to look at it these days. So that hormone that kind of gets you going on the sugar diet, this is sort of what we're targeting here, but the length of time isn't really enough to get the full enormous effect that some people are seeing with that. So the Wednesday evening meal, ideally nothing but carbs. You can have a little bit of fat, a little bit of protein, keep it pretty minimal. For me, what I do is basically a giant bucket full of oatmeal and fruit. So a ton of chopped up fruit, oatmeal, honey, cinnamon. That's my dinner, and that's all I eat that day. Now, going into Thursday and Friday, low fat, like extremely low fat, like we're talking 10 to 20 grams of fat the entire day. Again, still the caloric deficit is what we're looking for here. So you're putting carbs back in. I should add too, on the Wednesday evening meal, no basically limit on how many carbs you can eat. Just stuff yourself silly with just carbs. You're going to get to the point where you don't want any more carbs, and basically there's no way you're going to eat enough carbs to gain any fat. Your glycogen stores are going to get refilled. That's where the vast majority of those carbs are going to go. Your body's going to use them. They won't be stored as fat. The next day, Thursday, you go straight into very low fat, moderate to high protein. Very low fat, again, higher carbs, but not necessarily high calorie. So we're looking, again, for the caloric deficit, low fat, moderate protein, and higher carbs. Again, we do the same thing on Friday. So that's your weekday. this is kind of the schedule that is easier to follow when you're trying to lose fat during the week. You can be more strict. Now we get into the weekend, and that's where people really screw this up. Not this, because you actually are designed to screw this up. That's the beauty of this starting Monday diet. Most people mess up their diet program on the weekends because they binge indiscriminately. And then they get kind of crazy in the head and they say, well, I've screwed it up this much, I might as well just screw it up completely. And they just go overboard the entire weekend. What we're going to do here on the weekend is all day Saturday, 24-hour fast again. In the week, the Saturday evening, that's when you can have a social life. You can go out, you can eat whatever you want for that meal. So again, this is almost like a cheat day, but it's not a cheat because it's actually built into the program that you can eat whatever you want and your body will benefit from it. Now we go into the next day, Saturday, and then into Sunday. Sunday, you want to be a bit more not quite cheaty, if that makes sense. You can have a light breakfast, you can have a few snacks during the day. If you do that, your Sunday evening meal should be more moderate and should be, relatively healthy. Now, if it comes to the basically choosing between days like Saturday or Sunday, you can flip them and that's no problem at all. So you can have your big cheat meal on Sunday, you can have kind of a moderate meal on Saturday. That's totally fine. So that's basically the schedule. And then if you're ready to, you basically, Sunday you wipe it all away. There's no mental guilt, there's no mental anguish here. You're not guilting yourself about food because literally you start the diet again on Monday. So that is basically the weekly schedule of the starting Monday diet. Again, you can get the full program. It explains it much more clearly in a much better detail than I can in the video here, especially when I'm drying out and losing my voice, which you can probably hear. But that's kind of what I do right now, and that's what I've been doing for the past essentially 4 months, is this starting Monday diet. And it works brilliantly, and I can honestly tell you it's the easiest diet I've ever been on. I've been doing it 4 months straight. I haven't had to go off of it because literally the easier eating is built right into this program. It's really, really dirt simple. It's the best way to put it. Now, if you're interested again in learning more about this and getting a full copy of this diet program, go to startingmondaydiet.com. Check it out, and if you have any questions about it or any of the days, just fire off in the comments below and let me know what you think and let me know what your questions are.